Hello there, everyone, and today is not the ground itself. Today is life in the machine. We're deviating a little bit today, and I have a special someone with me today. That special someone is Brother John.
I'm Brother John. Yeah, I'm special.
That's right. So we went and looked at a whole bunch of games, and we came to the conclusion to play Life in the Machine. Life in the Machine is a two-player GM-less tabletop role-playing game written by Keanu Shaw, and it was created for the Emotional Mech Jam. That was about 2 years ago. The introduction reads,
You and your mech have been together through everything.
You and your pilot have been together through everything.
You are human, but your mech is an extension of you.
You are machine, but your pilot is an internal part of you.
Your connection is crucial to both of your survival.
Your connection is imperative to both of your missions.
Now it is the night before your final battle, and you must reflect on your relationship and journey to make a final choice together.
Mm-hmm. And there you go. So the setup is this game requires just two people, and it also takes 2 6-sided dice and something to write with. Keanu Shaw was part of the tabletop safety toolkit, and so there's a good section about safety. Brother John and I usually go with throwing up the X, but we can refer to the yeses and nos from Microscope, which I'll be sharing with Brother John right now. And so I actually posted this for everyone to check out as well. The timelines on our Twitter at Tails_Mauxferry. We had most of this stuff isn't really safety. The only real safety part is no weird sex stuff. And that's usually one of the things we talk about in our other games is no weird sex stuff.
Who wants to hear about weird sex stuff? That's gross.
Yeah. But to kind of refresh also everyone listening and Brother John, some of the stuff, we agreed upon during this whole interface and world building is some of the palette we can take from Microscope and apply it to this game is, yes, we have for aliens, capitalism, factions, FTL, military, AI, and biological technology, no to magic, divine beings, interdimensional travel, time travel, instant transportation, omnipresent computers, and weird sex stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now, Life in the Machine is a game that you presented in a list of games for us to play. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I wanted to pick Life in the Machine specifically is because I wanted to get more into how the mechs work based off of what happened in Microscope, because you had a very particular stance on the kind of technology that's used in the universe that you're kind of setting up. So I was like, how do mechs work if most technology is sort of retro in a way? I guess as the way you kind of put it, in the sense in an 80s anime words, because I was like, this kind of lets us explore the specifics of mechs, or even the development of mech technology. Because in this game, it seems like the mech and the pilot in this scenario are special in some sense. So I feel like this would be a good game to explore that more for the upcoming games going into the future.
That's right. Before we can get to a little bit more of that, the next step after safety is about the war. Together, build the setting that the pilot and the mech exist in, just enough to begin your story. Leave room to build and explore this world through gameplay. So what began the war? Now, I was thinking for this, we don't need to be during Microscope timeframe. This can be some time in the future after the end of Microscope. We don't need to say how.
That's what I was thinking, was it could be like its own kind of, especially since it's focusing on a mech. It's definitely not outside of his lifespan, that mech's lifespan, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So it's we can just have a specific battle that was ensuing, or war more specifically,
right?
And how that encouraged the development of the mechs and whatnot.
Right.
That makes sense at all to you?
Yeah. So do you have any ideas of what began the war?
Let me think a minute, because I know that you guys started to introduce aliens at some point, and I feel like the war would have been they encountered an alien species who had more sophisticated mechs, because in the Microscope timeline, if I'm going back to a certain point, they started to use mechs, but it was more for quelling the riots, if I remember correctly.
Right. Industrial stuff.
They're industrial stuff. They're essentially described as like Ridley's mech and Alien. They weren't like sophisticated. They were mechs, but they weren't sophisticated. And I feel like this war started because there was they eventually encountered an alien species. Maybe not even like the entire the alien species, but like a small fleet that like got lost somewhere, and basically the exchanges between humanity and this alien species kind of spiraled out of their control. Like some things were said that were like mistranslated or whatever, and just things kind of got bad. So I feel like this war is them attacking us with these sophisticated mechs, and we're like, oh no, you gotta do something. And so this almost sounds like kind of going to like Evangelion in a sense, where it's just like, oh no, there's these advanced aliens and we don't have the things to keep up with them. We gotta retaliate somehow and make better mechs on our end, I guess.
So what began the war was pretty much a misunderstanding and a jealousy for technology.
It wasn't necessarily a jealousy, but more of a necessity for technology. Like the need to advance their situation. Like, because really like a lot of advances in technology in terms of like a species is through like a need for it. You know what I mean? Like, whether it be survival or convenience or whatever. Maybe this alien race has a more, I'm trying to think of what conflicting views they would have against humanity that would
we can just leave it as a misunderstanding. We don't even have to go into
that. That's true. Yeah. And also as a pilot, I don't know all this stuff. Like, I'm just a guy. They said,
we got to go shoot this thing or whatever. We got to go. Who are the enemies you are fighting against? So it sounds like aliens in quotes, but I'm thinking for these aliens, I definitely want to do some kind of humanoid-esque, right?
Yeah.
Instead of the gasoline puddles.
Yeah. I was thinking they're more humanoid-esque. They definitely have limbs to operate these things.
Like, are they maybe like aquatic kind of people or cat people or
bulkier version of the typical gray aliens we think of when we think of like Area 51 and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know? Just bigger, buffer gray alien.
So do they still have the big oval head and black eyes? Totally. Oh no, I was thinking
totally, yeah.
A bulky, ripped gray aliens.
Yeah, they're just.
I almost wanted to put like hot HAWT.
And they kind of have like, you know, they definitely that's what I describe them as. But they have like a more sophisticated idea to them. Like they have these elaborate like jumpsuits and whatever with cool designs and stuff. Very what's the word where it's just like modern kind of looking or like minimalist kind of design. I don't know the word I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so when I was thinking jumpsuits, you could think of like the 50s interpretations of scientific jumpsuits, or are you thinking modern day jumpsuits that are very minimalistic? Because one has like a more flair to it and one's more this.
I'm thinking of like how, like it's like a jumpsuit, but it's got like some patterns, almost like a superhero outfit has like in design. So they're kind of like that, and they're very much. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a name for these people. This. I almost said the sporks. We're the sporks, and like ironically on our home planet we're like, well, those are eating utensils.
Exactly. Spork, I haven't seen those for a while.
You know what, I would love that personally. I would love that because there's sometimes coincidentally some words are similar but they translate differently.
Sure,
it wouldn't be too far off to assume an alien race would be named after something that is like a eating utensil here. So, and I would love to have that as just a thing, like, oh, the sporks. And then people are like, wait, you talk about the food, the eating utensils or the aliens or the like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Another night snails.
And they're it's spelled differently though. It's not like, it's not sporks specifically. But spelled differently. It's like SPORX or something like that.
There we go. Yep. What is at stake if the war is lost? Like the easy thing would be like, oh, this segment or this colony or whatever is, just going to be destroyed by the aliens or what. But I don't know if there's something more interesting there instead.
I want to say maybe we have something that the sporks wanted that was there that we weren't aware of. Like whatever our situation is, like whatever colony we're at, maybe there was something buried there before we got there or something like that. I'm only driving this up from something I've been watching recently where these people are like invading a planet and they're like, we want the thing that's buried there, but you people are holding on to it.
So yeah, the thing that's lost is like twofold. One could be like their place to live. Like they're not going to necessarily kill them all, but it's like where you live and your habitat, it's gone. And then the other thing is the unknown is the resource or the MacGuffin that is underneath them that they don't know about.
Yeah.
So their habitat and this unknown. Is it a resource or thing?
A thing can always be a resource, though, when you think about it.
That's true.
I want to say what the thing that they want is probably like a complex data storage system that has important information on it. Humanity can't really use it because it's beyond their technology. Like there's no USB
for now.
There's no USB drive on this thing, but it's like a cube that's like, this holds important information. You guys don't know how to use it. Give it back to us. And then it's like, oh, these guys want it. Well, maybe we want it. Like, oh, maybe we want it. But of course, before we didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
And meeting this alien race was completely coincidental. And then, but things escalated. And then that's why this war started. Like by inhabiting a colony in a specific area, we ended up obtaining something that didn't really belong to us. But then we found out what it was, and they're like, no, we want it now. No, it's ours.
I don't know how to use it, but we need this.
So we want this because you want it, so it must be important,
Exactly. Excellent. Well, that is sounds fantastic already for thank you for the world building already.
I like the idea of we don't as humanity doesn't even know what it is, and they don't have the technology sufficient to actually use it, but they know if they hang on to it eventually, some years down the road from now, they'll be able to crack it. Maybe it has the answers to the universe into it. Maybe it just has a recipe for some sick omelets. Who knows? But it's important to these aliens, apparently. So,
sick alien omelets.
Sick alien omelet.
Excuse me, sick spork omelets, maybe.
Yeah.
So the next section is the pilot and the mech. Between the two of you, decide who will play the pilot and who will play the mech. Although you are separate entities in this war, you're expected to function as one. The pilot cannot be on the battlefield without the mech, and the mech can't act without the pilot. And so at the beginning, when we were reading part of the opener, we could hear we already picked, I'm going to be playing the mech, and Brother John's going to be playing the human.
I'm going to be the human. I'm going to be the pilot.
So the pilot is a human who has been recruited to fight this war by guiding the mech. What is your name?
My name is, oh, dang it. I had a cool name and I forgot what it was.
Brock Slicer.
Brock Slicer sounds good. Heck yeah. We'll go with Brock Slicer. Okay. My name is Brock Slicer.
Why were you recruited willingly or unwillingly into this war?
I was actually unwillingly recruited. I want to say, I almost want to say I'm an inmate and I'm being used as a guinea pig for mechs or finding like the best pilots for mechs and whatever. And this is my chance for freedom. Like they're like, if you do well in this, then we will at least give you probation or something like that. Or like, you'll get some time taken off of your sentence or whatever. And I want to say that, well, I think we can explore it later, but I want to say he was imprisoned wrongfully is a misunderstanding of sorts. And I'll take some time to think about that so I can play off of it later in the session.
So the next question is, what are you fighting for? But you may have already answered that.
What am I fighting for? Well, one, he's fighting for his freedom objectively. In a personal sense, he's like doing this as a almost not in what one would call a therapy session, but it is in fact a therapy thing for him where he's like kind of like soul searching through this task that he's been given.
Excellent. moving on to the mech. The mech is a robot that houses the pilot and acts as an extension of them on the battlefield.
The questions for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you read those. Yeah.
The mech is a robot that houses the pilot and acts as an extension of them on the battlefield. What are you named?
I am named DR-4G-00N or Dragoon.
Okay. So you're Dragoon. And but everyone just calls you Dragoon then? Like in the docking bay, they're like, oh, you're working on Dragoon again? Yeah, I'm working
exactly.
on Dragoon. Why are you unique among the mechs?
I'm the first of my kind that is has biological technology integrated into it.
What base directive in your code will override everything else?
Protect the maximum amount of humans possible.
Protect the maximum amount of humans? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Biological technology. I don't know if you want to expand
I can
on that
if
now,
you want, yeah.
Or if that should be a scene for like when like the pilot hops in and this is what happens with the
I guess we can save for it. Yeah, let's do it for like the first one of the scenes and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I have some ideas, and I've never seen Evangelion, but I have a feeling I might be touching on some. We'll find out. I don't know. All right. So moving on to the gameplay called Scenes. This game plays out in scenes, starting with the scene of the first time the pilot and mech face conflict. These scenes take place over time, showing snapshots of moments where they connect or identities shift. As much or as little time can pass between scenes as feels right. Set the scene together. Where are you?
I think this is the first time I'm being sent out. They're like, Brock Slicer, you need to suit up and get in the robot. And it's like, so Slicer's in his cell, right? I like imagine Brock's in his cell and he's like shadowed over, and the guy, General, whatever, opens the cell. He's like, Brock, it's time for you to get in the robot. And so like you get the scene of like Brock walking down the hallway, and then like cut to a scene of like the mech being prepared. So like what would they be doing to prepare you?
It's definitely, on that giant scaffolding you see a lot of mechs on. One of the things is like this has a blocky front face, like blocking the front, but then it angles backwards, as it transitions. And you can see that there is
like a slice of cheese. Like a comical
almost
slice,
like it's like a slice of cheese, but the front is cut off, right?
Yeah.
So it's flat.
That's the kind of shape I call that, the slice of cheese.
Yeah. But yeah, one of the things is you see there's this big, almost it's like they have on airplanes where they have a big duct that hooks in, and usually it's interpreted as like forcing air or whatever. You have one of those that's like hooked up to the top, and you can tell there's something going through that tube because it's undulating.
Okay, yeah.
Of course, they're also doing all, the traditional, like technicians are checking the joints and the machinery, and you see some of the hands flex, and you notice that it is bipedal, with arms, and it has like these weird claws on them, or like the finger points come to like really sharp points, or almost pretty much like claws.
So then like, yeah, like I get what you mean. And I'm like imagining the scene. I'm hearing the, those drills.
Exactly.
Like, just like doing like,
hey, Johnny, how's the breaker going?
Brock Slicer walks in. He sees this. So this must be the Dragoon. I'm trying to think of a voice. He's totally like Snake Plissken from Escape from New York, or Escape from so this is the Dragoon. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, oof.
That's right, Brock, and it's your show to go take it out. You're the first one, and hopefully you won't be the last one. There's a lot in there that needs to be tested out.
So, and to finalize the scene, it goes into what is the challenge you must overcome. I feel like Brock's been running simulations, but he hasn't had a chance to encounter the real thing, and I think this is a moment to expound on what your biological aspect of this robot is, because I feel like this would be a challenge for anybody to be like, I'm getting hooked up to a robot in a biological sense. Excuse me? You know what I mean? So yeah, he gets into the cockpit. How would he get into the cockpit? Is it just like a normal?
It's very traditional. Yeah, it opens up, around the torso or where the the sternum is, or something like that. Yeah, and I think it opens up in this cockpit. Pretty much looks like I'm thinking, the 80s style MS Team kind of cockpit. There's that kind of comfy chair, not really, but there's a whole bunch of screens and all the relays and switches and all that jazz. And you sit in, and at the start of it, I think they probably have you go deploy somewhere for easy pickings, right? Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, it just operates as expected. Okay. I would say.
Okay, so I don't notice anything bizarre.
Nope.
Huh? Nothing weird.
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I would just I would roll with that, but I suppose whenever that would kick in, that would be the challenge that I'd have to overcome, because it'd be like, am I cool with it or not? Is it something that would shock me, or something I would instinctively resist or willingly accept, is what I guess what it comes down to. And then it'd also be the challenge for you, because it'd be like, oh, is it pilot, you
yeah, I think the first time it kicks in, so it's they go send you out to an easy pick, and they're like, there's a Sporks F unit out in 6 clicks to the south, and so you go to Sporks F, and it's in your sight, and as you start all the reticles it starts lining up, and then the cockpit starts filling up with a mist, and it doesn't go away. And in my head, have you ever been in a completely dark room, and there's you cause static electricity to happen, rub it, and so you see all this arcing of electricity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it fills up with mist, and then you start seeing the arcing electricity all around.
Oh, okay.
But you still, all the cockpits are, all lit and everything's going, but now you're breathing this weird mist, and so you're lining up, and you hear in your voice well, you're the first. I used to be one like you, but not with some fancy machine.
Wow. I don't know what that means, but is this something that would be in the user manual or simulations that he covered over?
I don't think so. I think the best they would have described is there's some enhancements that you're going to be using.
Yeah, I think Brock Slicer would legitimately kind of freak out about this. So I feel whatever we were doing at that moment,
lining up the shot,
lining up the shot, yeah, would totally throw me off. So I want to say it definitely shocks him at first, but he does know that this is a weird mech from what he's heard from people talking. Didn't know what to expect, but he's going to accept it and just kind of be who's this? Who's talking to me right now? What's going on here? And while trying to maintain focus and pilot and whatnot. Yeah. So I'm not going to, the reason why I say I accept this is because I'm not going to we should roll or anything like that.
Sure. No, it's fine. And you hear back to you, you're like, well, I think they call me Dragoon. You can call me Dragoon. And, let's work together to make sure we get these missions done. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whatever. Just don't stand in my way. I don't know. Stereotypical cool guy line.
Yeah. And I think also you notice as you're breathing, you're the air you're breathing is, it's moist. It's, it's not just what you're feeling it as well. But yeah, I would say between you and Dragoon, between Brock and Dragoon, after this weird thing that happened, the shot was as easy as butter. Just
So yeah, would you say that by doing that, our efficiency worked a bit better in terms of on the battlefield or whatever?
Oh yeah,
okay,
I definitely think so. So write down a tally mark as you sync. Okay, play. So reading the rules for everyone else, you play out the scene. Decide who leads the scene first. Oops.
I think it went well though.
Yeah, who do you think was leading the scene? Was it you or me?
I feel like I kind of pushed it, but I felt like you were leading it because it was you doing your primary function of syncing up with the pilot. You're
right.
I got to sync up with the pilot.
Okay. When a player takes any major action that could endanger the pilot and or mech's well-being, they must ask the other player if they accept the action. So the thing putting you in danger was it's filled up with this weird stuff. Mm-hmm. If they accept, write down a tally mark as you sync. So I get to mark this scene. Mark as you sync and deepen your bond. Otherwise, they may make the override move. So going forward, I guess we'll just read this for everyone now. When you try to override another player's action, roll 2d6 plus your current tally marks. On a hit, you're able to override the other player and take control of the scene. Narrate what happens next instead and remove a tally mark. On a 7 and 9, you still are able to override, but the other player may introduce a complication to your new action. Whether the action is accepted or overridden, each player narrates how the action changes the other. Okay. So we should talk about that in a second. The change can be physical or metaphysical, large or small, visible or invisible. Mm-hmm. Either player can call an end to the scene. At the end of each scene, the pilot and the mech should reflect. Okay, so we can do it here. How have you changed each other?
Well, I think the change was small. I think it's more accustomed to one another. We kind of made that first synchronization more or less, and that kind of made us. It's a small change for now, but it might turn into something later down the line. So.
Yeah. How do others notice the change? I think the only thing, maybe, if you're cool with this, is like when you come back to base and they open up the cockpit, everyone's just like, Brock, you're really sweaty. And you're just like, because it's actually like condensation, right? But everyone's just like, that's weird. Unless Brock wants to expand upon it, it's like, it's not sweat, it's mist or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
As the pilot, as me, I'll speak, and then I'll ask you as the mech, how did it change you as the mech? For Brock, I feel like having that second voice in his head has made him a little. It felt like there's somebody there with him. So like when he's outside the mech, it feels weird when he doesn't have that second voice to like talk to him. So I feel like the thing that people have noticed is like when he's out and about, he takes a moment almost as if he's waiting for somebody to reply to something he's doing.
Sure. Yeah.
And they're like, what's the matter? He goes, oh, nothing. Sorry. I thought I was expecting to hear from somebody. My bad. You know, that kind of thing. That definitely is a thing that would be noticeable in the situation.
For the mech, for Dragoon, I think they're a machine that's just, you put them back up into the scaffolding and all that kind of stuff. But like the kind of narration would be like, they're definitely curious, and they're curious about Brock and are excited for the next time that they and Brock can go on a mission.
Yeah. Okay.
And then how do you feel about your connection now? I guess I described that.
Yeah. You kind of described yours. I feel like Brock's a little weird about it. It's like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. We'll see how this develops kind of situation where he's like, I'm not sure whether this is good or bad for me.
So moving forward, decide together whether you are ready to move to the ending scene of the game. If not, create a new scene and play it out.
No,
we definitely.
I feel like there's more to be developed. So
lots more. Yeah. So now that we've read the rules properly, go ahead and lead the scene, Brother John.
So in this scene, I want to say we do get sent out a second time. There's another wave of sporks coming. We got to deal with these sporks. There's sporks everywhere in the war room. They're like, the sporks have discovered we got the new robots coming out and they don't like us. So they're bringing out the big goons, boys. We got to get out there and show them what it's for whatever. For, I don't know what colony we're at. I'm going to throw out a name. I'm going to make a random name for the Bob colony.
No.
Bob is a fine name for a colony, and I will not hear otherwise.
Fine.
Bob. You can make it an acronym if you want to.
Yeah,
later.
It'll be an acronym later, yeah.
But Bob, this colony is Bob. The Bob
It'll be
colony.
An acronym, yeah, here later. Yep.
So here we are, and so they send us out a second time. They don't have another one of the Dragoon types yet. They're still working on more. Would you agree that this Dragoon is like a prototype? Kind of?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the first Dragoon. They're still getting some information. They haven't made the second one yet. They're kind of developing it, but they do have some other more of the previous mechs before this one, which doesn't have the biological feature. They're just more, whatever.
Yeah.
Regular.
Just mechanical. Yeah.
So I feel like we go out. Here we are. We're fighting the sporks. Do we have, I want your opinion on this one. So, are we fighting more on land or are we fighting more in space?
I was thinking land, but we could be space. We could be wherever, really.
We're beyond land on this one because that's why this is so urgent, because they're getting close. They're getting close, so we gotta stop them. And we are fighting. And as an inmate, it's kind of hard to make friends. But I feel like through this scenario, Brock has made some friends. Like being a pilot, he has made one friend who is a sympathizer who's like, but you're an inmate and you're kind of being used as a guinea pig. I kind of like you, Brock, blah, blah, blah. Like the friend character who's like trying to get on the good side of the bad, cool anime protagonist.
That's right.
So I feel like at a certain point, him and his friend are on the same battlefield and his friend gets in danger. And Brock wants to save his friend, but it would put him and Dragoon in danger. Like it would like sacrifice a limb or something like that. It'd be like a drastic damage essentially. And I kind of wanted to see, would you agree with that or not? It's kind of like what the challenge is.
Yeah.
We're going to put ourselves in harm's way to save someone else. But like, would that be something that Dragoon would be okay with? Was like self-sacrifice. Like I know like your prime directive is to save as many people as possible, but like would Dragoon self-sacrifice the same as Brock would for this person, especially when Dragoon doesn't know this person? It's just another human.
I guess we can play this part out a little bit. So I'm not just asking out a character. So you start maneuvering. You're already in the whole mist, the electricity. We're in the middle of the battle. And so the mech goes, "What are you doing, Brock?"
"I gotta save my friend. Henry's the only one who believes that I'm innocent."
And do you think by us getting in the way that Henry will be unscathed?
"It's a chance I'm willing to take." I don't think that like whatever's happening to Henry is like a Kamehameha wave to blast away half the planet, but it's definitely like if you get in the way of this, you're gonna lose a limb or something like that to that extent.
Just the mech, yeah. Okay, so yeah,
it would still hurt me too, because of like shock and trauma, like being blunt force trauma and shook around and stuff. I imagine.
Brock?
Yeah.
I will trust you this time, because by at least my own experience, if we have 2 soldiers to fight, it's better than 1. And I expect Henry to pay us back. And so you're doing the maneuver and you're like trying to shield a certain way. And the Dragoon at the very last time like flips around such that the cockpit is not like, it puts the mech even in a weirder position of exposure, but it's trying to protect you as well at the same time.
Would you consider that an override since you're like taking control of yourself?
No, I'm going with the flow. It's more of like just showing that I think it's just showing that Dragoon is willing to even sacrifice more of themselves.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Then that's an agreeable maneuver. And I think that's what happens. We get damaged to I guess, to finish out the scene. Yeah. I was just going to quickly say how the conflict ends and then like, then we can go to how it changed us in any way. So I feel like we do the sacrificial move and by doing that, Henry's like, "I got a shot," like he's like, yeah. And then he blasts away the thing that attacked us and is like, "Oh, thanks so much, Brock. I gotta do a better voice for my friend character. "Oh, thanks a lot, Brock. I appreciate it so much. I got a shot. I did it. I got some." Yeah, he's super excited and he's super happy that we both sacrificed ourselves to save him in a sense. And I think the battle continues and we manage to push everybody back. It's a tough battle, but everybody makes it back alive, more or less. Yeah.
Excellent.
So how did it change us then?
It really effed up Dragoon. Like, I think initially, if you would have went, sternum first and all that kind of stuff, it would have been a direct shot, probably some armor, but they're willing to do a complete cover of Henry pretty much, right? Being like, all right, we're doing this full. And it completely like ripped off the mobility pretty much like the lower part of the mobility of the mech. And so depending on when we get deployed next, it'll be not fully operational, or it's going to like, everything right now would be super uniformed, right? And the next time Dragoon is used, they're going to look mismatched, right? They're going to have different legs, different leg system versus what they have now.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, like, when we do the next scene, we could easily be like, well, this is them repairing it. This is the repair period. We can do it.
So I can run that.
It's not like you're like completely broken forever.
No, yeah. But I think the big takeaway though is Dragoon doesn't look, that new uniformed ever again, right?
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. So that's
Brock?
so that's how you've been changed, or like, for me, I feel like how it changed Brock. I feel like at first he felt strange with Dragoon, but now he's feeling more like he's seeing Dragoon less as a machine and more as a person because they were willing to do this thing. So he feels a little bit closer to Dragoon and feels more, personal towards it. Like, here's Henry. Henry's like, "Oh man, Brock, that was so cool the way you saved me." He goes, and then Brock's like, don't forget to thank Dragoon. And Henry's like, "What? Thank Dragoon? What?" Okay, well, thanks Dragoon. Salute, and he salutes Dragoon.
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, I'll play along with you, Brock. And so like Brock feels more like is starting to like melt the perception that Dragoon is just a robot, and Dragoon has potential to be a person in that sense, and more of a friend. So that's that, how it changed him. And like I kind of delved into how others noticed the change with Henry being like, oh, he thinks the robot's a person, so may as well thank the robot too.
No, it's fine. Yeah. How does Dragoon feel about your connection? I think they have much more admiration for Brock now, and they have much more admiration. I think like one of the kind of going back in the scene, it's like at one point Dragoon's like, just like old times, and this is like, what? I think I already covered all these other questions as well.
Did having to like sacrifice yourself, did it make you change how you feel about the connection at all, or is it
I think the connection is it's a stronger connection now because it's showing that like even Brock cares about humans, you could say.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Like it's like one day they'd be like, I really care, and it's just like, no, we're going to try to do the thing. Is a completely different.
I guess the reason why I asked that is because it's kind of tough to think about how I would feel if somebody asked me to use my body to protect somebody else, more or less, like,
right.
Like go protect this other person for me using your body. And I'm like, oh,
right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good to hear. Okay. So next scene.
Yeah, I'll lead the next scene. Yeah, I'll lead the next scene. I know scene.
Okay.
So yeah, you're in the bay, in the big bay, and where a whole bunch of other mechs are, right? I'm just picturing super big, all those and being repaired. And so you're up in the cockpit, and they're like, Brock, move with the thruster, and seeing like the things move and all that kind of stuff.
It. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah.
And while this is happening, in walks a spork. And that this was actually a defector. And they actually don't have on a slim suit or whatever. They have on like a lab coat. They're like they've.
I'm sorry, I was laughing because I was like, "Oh, defector, what is he? A spoon?"
We call them spoons. Dr. Spoon. And it's a defector, and they're in a lab coat and all that kind of stuff. And I think you, Brock, know this because you've been around a while. That there's a few sporks that have defected, and that's one reason why some of this tech's getting better and all that kind of stuff in this war, all kind of jazz. And so you're helping with Dragoon, and then this we call him Dr. Spoon. Sure, Dr. Spoon walks into the bay, and this is the first time Dr. Spoon has ever been in front of Dragoon. Okay. And as Dr. Spoon comes in, the cockpit starts to fill with a mist. Okay. Even though you have the door open, and you notice that the mech starts to power up like just like without you flipping all the switches. And Dragoon goes, Brock, we have to kill them.
No, you can't. You can't kill. Don't do that. He's not a bad guy. Can't do that. I try. Yeah.
Yeah. Dragoon's like, no, they are the enemy. We have to protect all of us. We have to kill them. And you start to like, literally the arm starts, and some repairmen are like, what the hell are you doing, Brock? Yeah. As the mech starts to go down to.
I would have to override on that because we can't kill him. We
let's see those mechanics job, brother John.
We definitely cannot kill him.
All right. So 2d6 plus 1.
2d6 plus 1. And I don't know what the target is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be 7 or 9, or is it under 7
This
or
is,
9?
I believe, on a hit, I believe what she meant was 10 plus. Okay. So you're going to roll 2d6, 10 plus, you do the thing, 7 and 9, I'll add a complication. I'm guessing 6 minus, I still do the thing.
Okay. So
I will do the thing.
I guess I'll try, because I'll override and I'll have to
Right.
control the scene. So
Right.
yeah, I'm going to try to override this.
All right. Let's see how this goes.
I rolled a 5 plus 1, so that's a 6. I totally screw up, and you.
So
I guess
like 5 total plus 1?
5 plus 1, so that's 6.
Plus a tally?
A tally of 1, yeah, 6.
Yeah, okay. Oh, so you didn't even get it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so you go to kill this thing, and you.
Yeah,
kill it?
So Dragoon, everyone's like, what the hell? And Dr. Spoon's like, looks up in shock, and there's this crush between the thumb and the finger of Dragoon.
Oh, jeez. Oh, man. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. This is horrible. Like, I feel like, we'll continue with the scene. Like, how would everybody react and stuff?
Everyone, I think you get court-martialed. And
I get in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, you get in trouble. Yep. But you're able to talk your way out through the whole, in the long run kind of deal. But it puts a lot of heat on you, especially, like, I think there's a threat of just you straight going back to jail and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So I guess I got in trouble for that. Yada yada. We all know. How have we changed each other? I have a very bad perspective on Dragoon now. Like, I got in trouble like when I was starting to trust it. Like, I was starting to develop like these like, oh, I like this robot. It has potential to be good, but it wouldn't even listen to me during this moment. And it just got out of control. I don't know if I can actually trust it going forward in the future. How do others notice the change is whenever I get sent out to missions, I get more hesitant to actually even get inside the robot. And I kind of, and I don't like talk to it the same way I used to. And Henry's like, you don't talk to Dragoon the same way you used to. What's going on? And like, yeah, the connection is that I feel bad. Like, I don't like, I'm jaded because like I got in trouble. Like, I got the biggest trouble because I was already a prisoner and like I have a bad background, even though I'm innocent. And I swear, I swear to good God, my goodness. I swear it on Bob Colony that I'm innocent. But yeah, so now I'm like I'm a little upset and I'm hurt. I'm like super bad about this.
Yeah. How does Dragoon, I think, if Dragoon interprets it as when my directive is challenged, Brock will let me follow it, if that makes sense.
What was that? Is Brock will, what was that part?
I think Dragoon's like, or maybe I should go a little bit harder, that Brock is not strong enough to overwrite my prime directive, and thus I can still fulfill my overall mission.
Okay. And then like, yeah, like, but have others noticed? Have others noticed the change? Like,
for Dragoon, I don't.
And how do you feel about your connection now? I guess, like, how do you feel more overpower of Brock? Do you feel like you can take control of Brock now? Is the thing like
right? Yeah, I think that's a good point. I bet now it's just like, oh, we are a good team, and when things come push to shove, I can take over to make sure.
I almost, if I may, I almost feel like there would be some repercussions in the terms of like researchers dealing with a prototype where they're like, wait, the guy that our prototype just killed the thing that was helping us. We have to like look into this. And so I feel like I think others would perceive you a little differently too.
Right.
Like
maybe I'm put into a different bay all by myself or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Where it's like, we can't have Spork Center there. They can only observe from this area where it's like they can't be perceived that way.
Right.
You know, only human mechanics are allowed in there.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's isolated and they're like an observation and segregation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a prototype, that'd be pretty bad for you to do something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not outside your prime directive either. So
exactly. I said all humans. I didn't say
sporks. Yeah.
I didn't say sporks.
Well, you were created to fight the sporks. So
that's right. You set a scene.
Okay,
John.
me set a scene. We're currently in battle. This is the scene, okay? We're currently in battle. It's a special mission. And the mission is we're supposed to protect a vessel that's transporting defectors. You see where I'm going with this? And things are going well for the most part until some enemy spork with like a special mech. It's like red and it flies real fast and whatever.
Sure,
And not stealing this from Gundam at all, the Red Comet or anything like that. But no, it's a special mech and it's like the mid boss of the game or whatever. And he shows up and he starts ruining things for the people who are transporting the vessel. We were away. We were fighting off forces around, but we weren't interacting with the vessel. Like we weren't in the actual escort group. But the escort groups got. And so now they're like, you guys got to protect the vessel. And so we go to the vessel and I feel like the challenge is we're fighting the big bad spork. Things are going well, but the vessel eventually gets a little damaged and exposes what's inside. And that's like the defectors. I don't want to say they're in space. I want to say they're in like... They're in the atmosphere. They're getting close. Okay. They're getting close. So it's not like they're like,
right. They're at like 50,000 or not 50. Like this really
make
high
it better.
Up, right?
Make it better. Okay. Yes. The vessel gets damaged. Yes. And they have to use emergency evacuation things. So they're like falling in parachutes. We get a comm call. Both of us are like, Brock, and get Dragoon down there and save those people. So here's our challenge, I guess now is, I'm going to try to, instead of trying to brute force, because apparently that's not going to work like last time. I'm trying to reason with Dragoon in this sense. Like, I guess so I'm trying it again, but instead of trying to brute force you to do it, and this is either you agree or you try to override to do the thing.
I think it'd be worthwhile role-playing this a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. Dragoon, we gotta go save those spork defectors. The sporks defectors.
Brock, but there's the red comet over there that we need to take care of.
Oh, that's actually a really good point. And he's like, but if we don't make sure these people get back safe. Oh, that's a good point. Dang.
Well, we can just assume that Dragoon helping these people would make sure they still get safe, right?
I want to assume that some of them are having problems with their escape things.
There we go. Yeah. So that's
I want to say the red because the real challenge is this overcoming of killing allies, regardless of whether they're human or not. I want to say like to keep that challenge in. Yeah. Without being obstructed. I want to say the red comet and our fight ended with the red comet being like, I'll be back.
Okay.
Brock and Dragoon. Cause he's like, you know, he's got smoke blood from his robot bleeding out.
Yes,
whatever.
That's right.
You know, it's like, oh no, I'll be back. And he boosts out of there and we have to like,
I see. Yeah. Okay. That's good enough. Yeah. So you say that we go pow pow and then you go back to the convo.
So we're going to we have to save the sporks. We have to save these sporks. I know you don't. I know it's against your prime directive, but this is our job and we have to do our job, and saving these sporks will ensure that we can save more humans.
Are you sure that they just won't turn on us like others have turned on me before?
What do you mean others have turned on you before? You've only met the one. As far as Brock is concerned, he's only met the one.
That's right.
He's only met that one that he squished between his fingers.
That's the whole reason why I'm here, Brock. It's because of them.
Isn't that a good thing? Like you exist because of them? Like that makes them like your parent, right? Like how is this a bad thing for you?
Parent is a sick way of saying it, but I wasn't always the system. It was because of them that I became the system.
You're making things very vague, and I'm not sure if I understand you, Dragoon, because it sounds like they made you, but how is making you a bad thing? do you just like, do robots have the capacity for hating life? Is that what's happening here?
Oh gosh, I guess I'm not overriding the scene still. I think how Dragoon shows this is like, you don't get it, do you, Brock? And then as they say that, like your vision changes to as if you were the mech looking out.
Okay.
And then you come back into your own body.
I see them. Yeah, that's cool. But what does that mean? Like, I don't know what this means. I can't, if I kept telling you riddles and like never specifying anything, I can't understand what you're saying or trying to tell me. Like, what's red, black and blue and red it's black and white and red all over. It's, and then I could just be like, yeah, and that's why I don't like the government or something, like it doesn't make sense.
And it's like, I think as they're like, oh, I know, Dragoon's like, I'm not allowed to say.
Okay.
It would go against my prime directive.
Okay, I feel like Brock's feeling pretty dumb for engaging this conversation because he's realizing people are still falling.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I guess, yeah.
This is an anime, cutscene where it's happening, and then
Well, essentially, because I was leading the scene, and
I have to determine.
Do you want to try to override Brock?
Or I'm more like, does Brock I guess for me, it's like Brock just like throws up his hands, like I don't know what you're talgoon about. It's like kind of where it's left at.
Because he can't, like if Dragoon can't talk about it, and Dragoon's clearly not listening. It almost sounds like you're trying to override Brock.
I was going to. Yeah, if let's say we close there, and I'll try to override. Yeah. I got a 5 and a 4 plus 1.
A 5 and a 4 plus 1, so that's
a 10.
5 and a 4.
I feel.
Oh, that's a 10. Okay.
As the player, I feel like an ass.
That's the robot aspect, right?
Yeah.
Robots are literally kind of assholes if they're not programmed in a very specific manner. Like they have like a prime directive and they stick to it.
So I override.
Okay.
And so you go to whoop, and instead like Dragoon just shuts, quote unquote, shuts down, and falls, have her feet in, and it's more of like you get just to watch like the camera, or like Dragoon makes sure to watch the craft fall the whole time. So you're like, it's shut down, but it's still like one screen's on, and you just when you see it like, and so whatever amount that didn't deploy there shoots eat it.
Yeah,
sorry. God, this is effed up.
This is pretty effed up. So that's I imagine that's the end of the scene. I want to say, I want to say, if I may, go into like a wrap up of that scene. I think that some of the defectors get injured or hurt, but miraculously survive, and they do manage to recover Dragoon and Brock and all the whatever survivors and bring them back to base. But I guess this would go into the 3 reflecting points. Then. Brock feels almost indifferent to Dragoon now. Like it's like a very complicated relationship. Like he doesn't understand what's going on with Dragoon. He doesn't know what Dragoon was trying to tell him. Like he doesn't understand. Like I don't understand what you were trying to tell me. You kept saying that they made you, but it sounds like you resented them. So I don't know what means they made you to make them hate you. He's kind of like really in a weird position with Dragoon. Others notice this change because obviously like this is the second time that I've been having problems with piloting Dragoon. Like everyone's like, is his compatibility synchronization down? They're like, is the pilot messed up or is it the robot? And people don't know, but they're definitely looking at me because of my shady background. They're probably like, oh, he's probably got a bad brain or whatever. And he's messing with the systems and yada, yada. And poor Henry's like, gotta console. Like, it's okay, Brock. You're still going to be able to make it, man. And I still believe in you. And then like, yeah, that's just where Brock is. And he feels very, I'm not sure what I want to do with this robot anymore. Like, so yeah, it's kind of tough. It's kind of rough.
Yeah. I think, Dragoon is not as chatty anymore. Like, there's other missions that they get deployed on. And they're not as chatty anymore. It's very to the point. So that's how you notice a change. Yeah.
Do you feel like Dragoon is frustrated too?
Yeah, exactly. That's how I was going to say. It's like, how do you feel about your connection? I was like, Dragoon is very frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I touched on it, or it's like people are kind of questioning whether it's you or you or me that's being defective here in these scenarios. So yeah, I think sorry, touched on how others have viewed this.
Welcome to Eberron,
a land we fought so desperately for, now a land torn and scarred by war.
Where our paths can never leave us, but we forge a new path.
Where opportunities are everywhere, for those of the guile to take them.
Where we find a new family while hunting down monsters.
This is the Morning Blues, a D&D 5e actual play game released every other Thursday on Beholder to No One. Join our DM Adam as he runs Virik, Jody, Rem, and Mika through their bounties and exploration.
Do you want to do another scene?
Yes, I want to do another scene.
Do you want me to lead? Or
I'll lead the next. I'm ready to lead.
I had a good idea for leading, which would kind of like...
Didn't you just lead the last one?
I did lead the last one,
Yeah.
but it's like you don't have to like back and forth if you don't want to.
Oh, okay. I have an idea as well. Yeah.
If you have a good
Yeah.
idea for one, we'll go with you. If you want to take your turn.
Actually, I'm thinking out of my head. I'm like, where's the?
If you want to do mine, I don't think.
Yeah,
mine
let's
will
do
take
yours
that,
instead.
I don't think mine
Yeah.
will take that long. We don't have to take very long.
It's fine. It's more of like I had an idea. I'm like, I don't know where the inflection point is, so maybe I'll figure it out before next time.
Think about it for a minute.
Yeah.
Briefly,
So go ahead and
mine
you do
was
yours.
just going to be kind of like I want to say in this scene, Brock kind of wants to get down to what it was Dragoon was trying to tell him at that time. Like it's been a while, like you said this before. It's been a while, but he's had time to think about it.
Right.
And I want to say at one point, whoever was the human head of like doing your making Dragoon is there on maintenance day, and I feel like Brock in front of Dragoon kind of like confronts him on this. He says, he's like, oh, what the heck's going on with Dragoon? Like Dragoon, and he's like, oh, it's nothing, just computers, blah, blah, blah. You understand, Brock. This is outside of your
exactly.
This is classified information, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Blah. And it's like, Brock's like, Dragoon was telling me that it's because of the sporks that he's like, oh, weird and stuff. That's none of your business, bro. And it's like, whatever. And I feel like Brock's trying to get down to like understanding this a bit better. And I feel like Dragoon may be watching this at this moment.
Yes, absolutely.
And I feel like I feel like Brock is pushing it and trying to get this, trying to get an answer. And I guess like either Dragoon can would you be cool with me getting the answer? And if that was the case, would you help me or would you try to stop me?
So you're pretty much, you're at that point where you're like maybe getting really like
maybe you can't talk about it. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe you can't talk about it, but maybe you could push the director to be like, you need to talk about this because it's important or whatever. Like, yeah, Brock's like really interrogating this guy and he's like got him almost to the breaking point, but he just needs that little bit of a push, like,
God.
I want to understand what's going on with the robot because I have to get inside that thing all the time and blah, blah, blah. And things are going bad. And I'm just trying to, he's really going into this and he's pouring his heart out. And the director's kind of like,
He's like, the corporation wouldn't let you hear the answer.
yeah, it's all classified, black, what do they call that? Where they like,
Redacted.
Redacted. Blah, blah, yeah. But he obviously knows. And I think Dragoon would know that this guy knows too about the methods.
I guess the fine line here is Brock. Gosh, it's a super, super fine line of, is Brock going to like physically kill or really hurt the director and stuff like that? But I guess it's talking out loud.
I guess it would
like,
be up to Dragoon's interpretation. Yeah, like is Brock attacking the human right now, or like I'm talking about how you were made. I'm like blatantly saying these things.
Gosh, so what's the call? Do you call out to Dragoon, or does Brock call out to Dragoon or anything at some point?
I don't think so. I want to say this is happening in front of Dragoon, but Brock isn't personally aware that Dragoon may be observing. But I feel like it would activate Dragoon to hear Brock's voice and talking about Dragoon and about Dragoon's situation of how Dragoon was made and yada yada. Because like really like what Brock is trying to achieve is to try to get a better understanding of what's going on with Dragoon. Like why was Dragoon made? How was Dragoon made? Like, why is Dragoon telling me that he was made by the sporks and that he wasn't always this thing? Like, you know, like I don't understand and I want to understand so that I don't feel so bad about getting inside the robot anymore.
Right. Yeah. So like you pretty much like have him and you're shaking him or having him against a wall or something like that. Right.
Yeah. Cause I'm getting tired of all the bureaucratic bull crap, you know?
And as you say that, like, at one point, you're like, tell me. And as you yell, tell me, it's not in your voice.
Okay.
And the mech also says it at the same time, tell me. And then it says, tell him, both in your voice, like, coming out of your mouth and the mech.
Okay, cool.
And the doctor or director or whoever looks at you like frightened.
Yeah.
Like this whole time, it's like, oh, whatever. But as soon as that happens, he looks extremely frightened. And he's like, Will Brock? Yeah, this would be his voice. Well, Brock, you see, Dragoon is a bioengineered mech, and his system has been augmented with another person.
Person?
What? Yes. It was actually the ace pilot of the Bob colony, and well, he was going to die to the sporks, and I was able to deploy a drone and rescue him in time, and well, we had the technology and you know how a lot of this bioengineering works.
I was a prisoner until recently. You think I know anything about bioengineering?
Well, you take from the others what you want to pass on to the now. And well, we did the process and we uploaded the essence required from the ace pilot and now he is part of the mech, and it sounds like maybe he's part of you too.
Oh my god! So, yeah, I kind of get the idea that they uploaded. They either use his mind literally or use his brain.
There's some essence thing, just like a microscope. They didn't say what it was, but there's some kind of biological essence that is being harvested.
And it kind of I like to think it's like the essence of a brain because the way you describe how the mist and the electrical currents inside of it, almost like the synapses of a brain that fire off electricity and whatever with information. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. So yeah, I guess you agreed with me on that scene.
Yeah.
I guess, do I get to mark a tally?
Yeah, you get a point. Yep.
I get a point. Yay. One more for synchronization. So I guess to end that scene, we kind of uncover the truth about the truth behind Dragoon. So let's go on to the reflection part.
I could throw out that the ace pilot to be named, unless we want to name him or her right now, or them. I don't know the pronouns of the ace pilot. How they change is they are somehow part of, like, as you found out, they're part of living inside of Brock as well. Like somehow at some level, part of Dragoon is in Brock now.
Okay. I feel like Brock has a little bit more understanding now that, this would kind of, every time I go into the reflection thing, I somehow manage to cover all three at the same time.
Sure, that's fine.
So I guess he kind of understands now that this human pilot was killed by sporks, and that's what the resentment comes from, is from the fact that this person was killed by them and then put into a machine, and kind of has a better understanding of where Dragoon comes from. So he feels a little bit more relieved knowing now, a little disturbed, because it is a human brain that was essentially used to create this thing, and kind of questionable morality there, a little questionable. I mean, depends. I guess how, whatever. You get that. It's
Yep.
It's a weird one. It's one of those weird scenarios where you're like, is this cool? I don't know. How do others notice the change? I feel like people kind of notice that Brock feels a little bit more comfortable being around Dragoon now. It's okay, I get this. I understand this thing a bit more now, and I'm not hindered by because for the longest time he felt like it legitimately was a machine. And then it's just for all he knew, it was just a really advanced AI. It was just a complete electronic being. But now he knows that it was, in fact, a person at one point, or at least its way of functioning was built off of a human mind at one point. So he understands that now. And it wasn't just his imagination that it has the potential to be a person. It's okay. So yeah, it used to be a person. It's a little, yeah, I get it. He gets it. To summarize it, he gets it. He's okay. Oh yeah.
Right. If for me, how does change each other? Well, I kind of described the one part. How do you notice the change? I think, in other deployments, Dragoon is real smooth. There's no more jerk anymore. There's almost a more of a synchronicity of in the anime shot, it would show Brock's moving like this and the mech is moving in exact, same motions and everything like that. And there's this connection.
I've never seen a mech move that fast before.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff. Whoa, exactly. Nani? What?
And how do they feel about your connection? So Dragoon is definitely relieved that, there's a better understanding, but they're also frightened because of what this could mean for Brock as well in the future.
Oh, the thing that happened between the two?
Yeah, that's one thing. And also, maybe I can think of a scene.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I don't even know. I want to do a scene, but I'm how do I involve Dragoon? Because I could maybe I just say it here and whatever. I don't know. I don't know how to say it.
I feel like a lot of this game is just talking out what you think.
Okay.
Or whatever. So
yeah,
I don't
so I'll
mind
just talk
if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to talk and get ideas going, and then say, okay, I got an idea for a scene. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I think the two things that Dragoon's frightened about is one, that weird, the synchronicity outside of the mech. The other one is if they did it to the ace pilot, what happens if they do it to Brock?
Yeah. That would be pretty messed up, and it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Especially since he's an inmate, and then you can extrapolate from there.
I suppose that realization would also dawn on Brock now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Because he is just a guinea pig. If he died in this experiment, they'd probably just use his brain too to do the same thing. So yeah, it's kind of, so that would deepen the sympathy in that regard, I suppose. Brock feels towards Dragoon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like that.
I really want to do a fleeting victory scene.
A fleeting victory.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Ooh, we can always fight against that red comet.
The red comet.
It could be one of those. Yeah, it'd be totally cool if you want to. If I've been doing, just dictate what you think the scene looks like.
Yeah. It's more of it's always I've been thinking this is just talking out loud about the game itself. I've been trying to think of places or scenes where it's all right, I'm going to do a thing, and would it challenge Brock?
So yeah. If you could think of something that would otherwise be kind of challenging as a person to make a judgment call on, then yeah,
right,
whatever.
So here's a fleeting victory one. So yes, where is it? In space. Duh. For this one too, it's a rematch with the Red Comet, right?
Yeah.
And so the challenge, starting off is complete anime scene of back and forth. There's probably some chatter. I don't know what the spork's name is, but there's a back and forth with the cut scenes, and absolutely, I guess there's two challenges if you want to.
Okay.
The first one is you best the Red Comet between Dragoon and Brock. They're in such a perfect synchrony, synchronized that they just blow the comet out of the sky. And there's the first opportunity is to kill, completely kill the Red Comet. And Dragoon wants to do that.
Okay.
I guess that's the first challenge. If you want,
I wouldn't call that a challenge because that's kind of what Brock would agree to. Is to
Okay, cool. So yeah, we just decimate, kill the red comet and everything. There's nothing left. But you know, as he's like,
I like to imagine the anime explosion where like they have like the white screen and they just turn into speed lines and vaporize.
Exactly. Yes. And like the only thing left in that scene is like there's like a little beacon with a red light. It's like boop 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 boop, boop. And you're like, what the? And then all of a sudden, out of FTL, because that's a thing, it's like it's like the mothership of the sporks.
Oh no! Okay.
And Dragoon's like, it's now or never, and he wants to go charge in, even though you know it'd be certain death.
I'm trying to think because I feel like a part of. No, actually, no. I was like, why would I was trying to think because I knew in my brain like I wanted to play a character who was, kind of didn't care whether he would eat it or not, more or less. But I feel like enough time we have narrated that time has been passing between all these scenes. I feel like enough time has passed where Brock has developed meaningful relationships at this point. He has his friend Henry. His friend Henry just got married recently and they have a little one on the way. And Henry's like, yo, I want you to be like the godfather of this kid and yada, yada. And then also like Brock has met somebody too. He's met like this girl and they kind of have like the typical anime protagonist relationship where it's like this shy, it's there. Everybody knows it, but they're too embarrassed to like go forward with anything. So that he's kind of got this thing too going on. But you get the idea. And so like, at one point in his life, he would have been like, yeah, let's just charge in. But he's like, I can't. I got people I got to return home to. I got people now. Like, I can't just do this, robot. I can't just do this, Dragoon. There's things I care about now. So he's going to try to like
override.
He's going to try to override. But we all see how well Brock's done before.
You get +2 to your roll now.
I got +2 to my roll now, so hopefully, I'm not going to say how I do it because I'm going to see if I succeed or not, and then if depending on whether I succeed or not, one's going to be he tries to brute force and fails, and the other one he's going to try to reason and sympathize with Robot and whatever like Robot, we can't do this, and hopefully reason with them. Although it will be successful, but or unless it's it's a 7 or 9, and then you get to add a complication.
I get to
which will be fun. I think that'd be fun to explore. Oh, I got a 6 + 2. That's an 8. So you get to add a complication.
So you override it. So
I override it. He doesn't just try to brute force it. Like he doesn't just try to take the steering wheel. He's like. Robot, I know, or Dragoon, I know a part of you. I know you were human once, so I know a part of you will understand this, but I have people that I have to get back to. Like, there's people back home. We can't do this without eating it, possibly. This is impossible to go against. The odds are against us. You know this. You know the odds are against us. You know better than anyone else. You used to be an ace. We can't win this on our own. We have to regroup and get ready for this. Please, Robot. Like, he's like, please, Dragoon. I don't know why I keep calling him Robot. But yeah, so yeah, I do that.
Okay. I could be complete yes. I'll talk this through and we can say yay or nay. Dragoon goes with it. It's like, they're kind of deal. But afterwards I don't know. I don't want to. No. Okay. So I'm just going to say no.
Well,
it gets into like personality disorder.
It doesn't necessarily have to be like intentionally detrimental. Like, it doesn't have to be like if it were me put in this situation, Josh, if I was to like be able to put in a complication, I would put in something that we both didn't see coming. Like, okay, maybe we overlooked the beacon and the beacon was calling something more. And
that's what I was thinking. As soon as you said the other complication. I think the other complication is that at the same time, there is a gigantic shockwave. Like,
okay, yeah.
Like, these kinds of shockwaves rarely ever happen. The right people know what they are. And there is an FTL, an end in an FTL of a colony ship.
Okay.
Or of a colony. And now there is a second colony in this orbit of this planet and whatever else. And that usually you don't have more than one colony by a planet because you can only usually harvest one planet or a planet per colony. It's usually 1 to 1. And so that is going to be a real bad time because it's unsustainable. Well, the planet's going to be, gutted in the long run, but it's even more unsustainable now, and it can really mess with, projections for survival and, the next steps going forward for the next FTL and all that kind of stuff. Because FTLs are freaking expensive, like from a resource perspective, especially at that scale of a colony. So now with that complication, let's talk about all
how you've changed each other and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, how did my plea to like not do this reckless action affect it? Has it changed you in any way? Like, I think
Dragoon is accepting, I think in a way it like softens Dragoon. It softens Dragoon in a manner that is more than just a personality, but it like softens them in their execution. Because now they're trying to be more cognizant of more than just a directive in a way, but they're also like, I think it makes a spark inside Dragoon of like a spark of like remembering their life. Like, oh yeah, I had a family once or something or whatever.
It's like they touched back on what it was like being a human. Yeah. And so that was all definitely like locked away, and they're like, oh, like, so their execution, their everything, it's not just like a machine, like amazing execution. There is this softness to it now, you could say. Do you want to cover the other two?
Yeah. So how others notice is, like, I think beyond just, so yeah, they're soft. Others notice, I think it's because, I think you go on another mission with Henry and they're like, there's almost like a couple times where it's like lagging. Maybe it's because of Dragoon and Brock having other conversations or whatever during battle. But there's a few times where like Henry's like, whoa, watch out, buddy. And he like has to like shoulder check and take the shot or whatever. And there's moments that people notice that are just of not that prime execution.
And how does he feel about that connection though? Like
I think Dragoon cares even more about Brock now.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So like part of the reason I think they're slow is because they're trying to, be cognizant of Brock, and also probably talking to Brock more than just like, we're doing this mission. It's like talking about life, like, trying to maybe even be a mentor to Brock. Probably not, but like there might be those kinds of talks at sometimes and stuff like that. Because you're like, oh, I'm going to go back to my girl or whoever and all that kind of stuff. So there's it's a deep connection, but he or she or they, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to give let's just go with they. Dragoon, they are just, it's just soft. Well, I'm more of like, I want to leave open for whatever this ace pilot was that kind of stuff too.
I guess how Brock has been changed is he's understanding that he can actually appeal to Dragoon less as a machine and more as a person, and that's more effective. And he needs to stop treating Dragoon like a machine. Like he's known that Dragoon's got a human brain, and he can trust to talk it out with Dragoon instead of trying to take over the steering wheel, more or less. Because like he was like, this time I appealed. I tried to reason in a way that would make sense to anybody, and Dragoon was willing to do that, and I'm very grateful for it. That's his feelings. It's like he's very grateful to Dragoon. Like he's like, thank you for listening to me this one time. I'm sorry we've been like fighting this entire time till now. And it's kind of like they're developing a closer kinship in a weird way. It's like, as far as like mechs and people go, people are like, Brock's like one with the machine, man. It's so weird. It's so cool too at the same time. He's right. He's one with the machine or whatever. He's realized that no, it's not just a machine. It can be reasoned with, and it has thoughts and feelings. It legitimately has thoughts and feelings, especially since he knows that it's got basis of the human brain. Anyways, that's it.
Something like that, yeah. Best way Brock can interpret it, at least, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any more scenes up your sleeve, or do you want to try to like wrap things up and like in a nice little bow?
Yeah, let's go to this last page about the end. I definitely think, I don't know, I think it's in a really good place, and so let's read through this last bit, how you wrap up this game. Once you feel that all of your scenes have been completed, circle back to the night before the final battle. The sun is starting to rise. You have been through everything together. You have changed each other in countless ways. You are two entities who must make a decision together. Do you become fully one? Oh, once a decision is agreed upon, craft the epilogue together. If you have 5 or more tally marks and you decide to become one,
Oh, I forgot about this part.
Me too. If you have 5 or more tally marks and you decide to stay separated, if you have less than 5 tally marks and you decide to become one. Oh, so let's read these last two. What part of yourself do you sacrifice to make the connection work? What is the greatest challenge you face now? Or if you have less than 5 tally marks and you decide to stay separate, what do you regret most about your connection? What do you hope for the other? Make sure to decompress and talk through the game after it ends. So we only have these bottom 2 choices. Which
can we override the rules of this game? Because I have like a good ending where I want them to be like happy with being. Or no, wait. How do you feel? Hold on a second. What do you?
So you become one, but what's the thing you sacrifice? And what's the greatest challenge you face now?
Yeah. I think he becomes okay. So he doesn't sacrifice anything physically about himself. I want to say that he sacrifices, like, in the end, he ends up sacrificing his relationships. Like he's like they end up just not working out anymore because they either his love interest is like, I can't keep waiting for you. You just keep fighting this robot. You haven't heard back of whether you're getting out or not. And all you're doing is fighting. Henry's like, look, I want to get out of the war because I got a family to take care of now. Or I don't want to die on the battlefield and leave my kid and wife by themselves. And like, everyone's kind of petering out. And so like, he's sacrificing a lot of like connections and stuff like that. And he's like, his only true connection is Dragoon. This is all I am now. This is all I have. This is, right. So even like even if he was freed from his whatever deal he got about being incarcerated and like, oh, you're this, you're gonna be free, he would still be doing this because what else has he got? He's like completely dependent on the machine at this point, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
And the greatest challenge he faces now is just like,
well, do I need to? Yeah.
And yeah, you could do yours too if you want to.
Yeah, I'm guessing once it does craft the epilogue, if you have, I guess, when do you become fully one? So is this from both our perspectives, I guess?
I suppose so.
Oh, part yourself. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, yourself. So you gave up your. So I think the greatest challenge we face now we can do together. More of like, I guess, I'm trying to figure out what Dragoon was sacrificed, because I was going to just sacrifice some stuff that now doesn't make sense since you did that.
Well, we can.
That's fine. No, it's good.
Fine.
No, it's good. Because I'm kind of interpreting of like, oh, you become one. It's like, well, one way would be like, well, Dragoon just fully leaves the mech. It's no longer part of the mechanical itself, and is just part of Brock. But I want to like, if that's okay, I want not like a bipolar. I don't want to talk about. It's more of like it's like a person in their head that they can have conversation.
Kind of like Cortana from.
Yeah, exactly, like Cortana, but they don't they don't ever physically override Brock at all. Like I want to draw that boundary, right? I don't want to. Yeah.
So I basically become Master Chief and sacrifices. I'm like I don't have any friend. My only friend is Cortana, the voice in my head.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest sacrifice is Dragoon gives up the the ability to control the mech itself, the mechanics.
Do you feel like that was just a thing that happened over time, or do you feel like it was a decision on the mecha developers' point where they're like, it'd be better to have the software travel with the pilot as opposed to let the software control the pilot at all times?
I definitely think it was like an overtime thing, because I think the engineers would not want this. Because all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, Brock, you've been
engineers witnessed like the software crush one of their allies." So they're like, well, it has some sense of liability to it, or like some danger to it.
But I think from an engineering or corporation standpoint, they're like, all right, Brock's tested out the prototype. It's good to go. We can get it into the new Ace pilot. And then they're like, put the Ace pilot in. Nothing happens. And so, yeah, I think this was like something that the engineering and corporation did not want. For what's the greatest challenge you face now? I think the greatest challenge we would face now is not having Brock be killed and harvested. By the corporation.
Okay, yeah.
Because they're like, oh, the prototype now is just a mech. Like Brock has the thing that makes this prototype special.
Yeah. Well, they can always just get another brain. They don't have to
Sure,
get
but
Brock's brain. Like, what's so special about this ace? Come on, right?
But I think maybe that is the biggest challenge. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the thing is, like, Brock wouldn't be not using the mech anyways, you know? So it's like it's not like he's on the lam or anything. So they're probably just like, well, this is inconvenient, but at least he's not going anywhere.
I suppose so. If you think Brock's, I can see that as well.
Yeah. Like, so he's like eternal test subject at this point then. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So what is the greatest challenge that we face then?
The greatest challenge we face is probably like dealing with these sporks, I guess, or like the fear of what will happen when Brock eventually does pass away, whether it be old age or whatever. Like if Brock passes away, like what happens to whatever, like what happens to Ace Pilot, Dragoon Brain, like does that pass away too? You know, it's like, it's not really like a challenge that can be overcome, but it's something that they just have to face head on when it happens. You know, it's like, we'll just find out when it happens, or maybe we'll figure out a way to do this later. It's one of those eternal challenges, I guess you could say. Yeah. Until they figure something out. I'm trying to think of like what other kind of challenges I guess this would present too. No. It would be more of a challenge to the engineers. Like, how can we prevent this in the future?
Yeah.
How can we prevent this from happening?
That's for Beam Saber. Don't worry.
But yeah, I guess the other challenge would be,
I think that's good. I think that's a very good challenge.
I think that's fine. Like, I think that's, it doesn't necessarily I don't think that it necessarily has to have a challenge to it. I mean,
I think that's good. Yeah. It's the challenge is the unknowing.
Yeah.
Right. It's, and I guess also like living with it every day when you go to these missions, and that could be the mission that all this unknown comes to pass. And
also, it's like we haven't said like the war concluded. We're probably like on the butt end of it. Maybe I want to say like, or maybe it did conclude, and then it was after the conclusion of the final battle where the fusion of minds became that thing. Actually, I want to say that there was a final confrontation because I don't want to set up as the sporks are going to be the bad guy later. Like, they could be if you wanted them to be, but they're not. They just kind of introduced like the advancement of robo-technology.
Right. So I guess maybe a good way of painting that is maybe it was like a giant battle with the sporks. Like maybe he blew up this mothership and all that, because then we can kind of step away from that and allow other stuff to fall in.
They hit a nuclear reactor thingy, and the surge of energy caused the brains to fuse or something crazy.
Not necessarily. It's more of like whatever the thing that happens, but it's like, you know, in the explosion, the mech gets blown up, but you know, Brock still survives, and then he gets taken in again, and it's just like, okay, we're back at it again, but it's just like, yeah, that'd be really good. It's like you do the thing, took on the sporks, destroyed them or whatever, but the mech was destroyed. So everyone's like, oh, we lost everything. But then it's just like, well, not really. They find out. It's like, okay, what is life now?
Oh, yeah, that would fit into the sacrifice part for you, I suppose. Like when we were reading the rules.
That too. Yeah, good point. Yes, exactly.
You sacrifice your body, but you live on, but you sacrificed your body. Yeah.
There we go. Got there.
You got there. It took a long time. That's what I like about this game, though, is because it's about a talkie game and just coming to resolutions through talking. I like that. And I guess the sacrifice for Brock is that that's the sacrifice for Brock is because he's got. It's not that people were getting tired of waiting, like his love interest is tired of waiting. It's just that now that he's fused with this other AI thing, he can't be set free. You know, they have to hold on to him. They're like, we're sorry.
There we go. Yep.
You guys have fused together. Too bad. Too sad.
Too bad.
And you didn't have more than 2 synchronization points.
We had 3 total.
3 total? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. How do you mind some bodies unite?
Wait, do we? Are we supposed to add up both of ours?
Yes, we're supposed to add up both. So we had 3.
2, and
I had 1.
You had 1. Yeah. Okay, 3 total. Okay. I was like, oh no, maybe I did this wrong.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's actually a satisfying conclusion to me. It's not like a happy conclusion, but I don't think everything has to have a happy ending to be a satisfying conclusion.
I agree. I think there was a lot of, I guess, we can do the very last part of this was make sure to decompress and talk about it through the game after it ends. Overall, this was I think it gave a lot of really good world building, right?
Yeah.
I really liked it.
I hope you carry that into your next game where people have like naming conventions of like, we just name it whatever we feel like, because like the Sporks is just like this funny thing, and then Bob Colony is just like, I know it's silly, but hey, whatever.
I know.
Right. Because like it's silly, but I'm going to remember Bob Colony forever. Like I'm going to remember Bob Colony. I thought that was real fun. I was kind of like, I went into the game with good expectations. Like I didn't feel like the game specifically had I personally, I was a little worried because I was like, I perceived it that the game had no winners or losers. It's just literally whoever comes up with these ideas, just do the idea. And if it makes it interesting, if it makes the story interesting, do it because it's interesting, not because you're trying to like won over the other player or whatever. And I was kind of worried at first because I was like, oh, I get it, but I don't know how other people would get it. I play with, but I think this went really smoothly and it was super fun. Like I liked telling the story and I liked developing this mech and pilot relationship. Super fun. And I was like, I hope I make interesting conflicts for Josh to deal with, which I feel like I did a couple of times. Or it was like, oh, do we sacrifice ourselves to save this this Henry man? Or,
Henry?
It's like, yeah. I thought it was super fun. I don't know about how did you feel about it, Josh? Yeah.
No, I really liked it as well. For me, it was always the balance of like, when do I reveal the stuff that, kind of came to mind for me? I was just like, okay. So for me, it was like a balance. I was like, all right. But overall, I really liked it. I was surprised at how much override there was, but whatever. I was always trying to think of ways of kind of like, push. Yeah. And I'm not sure if that's how the game's supposed to be played, because I could definitely see a way of playing this being like, we just knock it out of the park. Just make stuff that,
I had, so when before we played this, I had a mindset of how I was going to go about making my character. And a lot of my characters were going to be, they start off contradictory to what your character was. Like I originally wanted to be like a reckless pilot. And I was like, if Josh played and he wanted to be a reckless pilot, I would have a prime directive that would specifically contradict something that Josh did. That way it wouldn't give something to obstruct you. It'd give something for the robot to reconsider over time. Like the robot would be like, my prime directive is to protect my pilot at all costs, no matter what. So like, even if that means I have to rip out my own cockpit and throw it so that the human can be safe, I would do that.
Right.
To extreme measures, make sure that the pilot's safe. So like in a scenario where you'd be like, well, I got to save these people, and the only way I can do that is human shield, the robot would be like, no, that would put you in danger. And then like, then that would be like an override situation between the two of us.
Right.
And hopefully it would lead to something interesting. And so like, that's what this whole game's about to me, is like making things that are like characters developing and having contradictory views from one another. And I think we went about that pretty well, actually. In this
one. I agree. Yeah, when I couldn't tell you initially, the way I justified in my head was that Dragoon was like, I can't tell Brock because it'll endanger him, because I don't know what he'll do. And you're the only human Dragoon at that exact moment, and so Dragoon wanted to protect humans, and you're a human. So it's like, I'm going to try to protect Brock by not telling him what it is. Like why he shouldn't know this, because a lot of bad things can happen.
I honestly already knew what you were doing, but as in character as Brock, I was like, I don't understand this shit. Just be direct, please.
Brock, you're so dumb. Yeah. I forget when we listen to this again, I forget the part where I was like, I did something, I was like, I'm an ass.
Yeah. What it was when we were saving which was really fun for me. Like, I was like, oh, we have to escort people that you want to kill.
Right. That's what yeah.
And then we had to save them. And it was just like, you're like, oh, I'm kind of a jerk. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
you're a mech doing what mechs do.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't call that a jerky thing. I would call that just being a mech, really.
Yeah. I was like, oh, any other place I'd be like, yeah, we're saved these people. But it's just like, oh.
Yeah. It's totally cool. Like, I wouldn't feel great about making that decision either, but I would totally do it too. I'd be like, yeah, this is my prime directive, pilot. You have to override me.
Yeah. And this would also be like, watch it. Watch.
Yeah.
That'd be a really cool scene just to see the mech be like, shh, just falling tens of thousands of feet.
I'm really kind of sad that I didn't get the chance to be overridden and present a complication. To me, like a lot of these storytelling elements, like complications, make things interesting in terms of like, they don't necessarily have to be like you suffered something or whatever. It could be in the moment of you two reconciling or you two coming to terms with something, you accidentally overlook something and something happens. Like, for example, like the situation where you mentioned the FTL thing and the shockwave. And for a minute, my brain went somewhere else. I was like, oh, and we didn't notice the shockwave and we got hit by it.
Could have done that. Yeah. Could have done that.
But yeah, like it could be I love the idea of the complications. As somebody who creates stories, I love the idea of complications because it's like it could be anything. It could be just simply overlooking something, and then something crazy happens. Like I talk to Amber about it all the time about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure because
oh my god,
Araki is a genius at making the most mundane things into the most dramatic stuff ever.
Yes. I've seen all the anime, so I haven't read the manga.
Have you seen the Netflix series?
No, the manga guy. I've not watched that yet.
Okay, there's only like a couple of episodes, so it's not that long. Okay, but yeah, it's just like a series of short stories. The first one, perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's like this guy is like challenged by a ghost to catch popcorn in his mouth 3 times while he's outside. And he's like, he's got to throw it so high into the air. And like the first time he's like, oh no, the sun's in my eyes. Oh, I'm going to mess up. And he doesn't mess up. Second time he's like, I got to do it again. But a pigeon comes by. He's like, no, a pigeon's going to take the popcorn. And it's so interesting. And I'm like, those are the kinds of things I love. Just mundane things being over dramatized. And so great.
We'll wrap up this anime talk.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's fine.
Thanks for joining us for the anime podcast.
That's right. This was us playing Life in the Machine by Kiana Shaw. Next episode will be us playing The Ground itself with a mix of the people that you've heard so far. And you can find other great shows like this at Geekspective.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Tails_Mauxferry and at Geekspective. You can follow Brother John at that_drawer, and you can find me at Evil DM Josh. With that, thanks a lot, Brother John, for playing.
Thanks for having me. That was fun. I'm very sleepy now.
Yeah, let's go to sleep. See you all around. Bye bye.
Bye bye.